Are you Captain Jenkins?
That depends on who's asking.
Don't play games. I'm just after a few answers.
That song really put you in a bad mood, didn't it?
If you're trying to get me angry, it's working.
No need to get upset. You need to drink more and think less.
If I drank any more than I do now, I'd never think again.
That's the ticket.
So, you're the captain of the Milka.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately?
Ordinarily, I'd be happy being a captain of a fine ship like the Milka, but after this last voyage, I'm thinking of taking up farming.
Tough journey?
I don't want to talk about it.
What was so bad about the last voyage?
I told you I don't want to talk about it.
Sometimes it helps to talk about these things.
Why would I want to talk about it?
All right, let's put that another way. I want to talk about it, and the sooner I finish talking to you, the sooner you can get back to drinking.
By that logic, my best bet would be to just ignore you and carry on drinking.
I was never much good at logic. I did home economics at school. I was hoping you'd let me have a look around on the Milka.
I was hoping that I was going to make enough money to be able to buy myself a harem of exotic dancers called Chantel. But it looks like we're both going to be disappointed.
Is there any way I can persuade you to let me on your ship?
Is there any way I can persuade you to go away?
I understand you are carrying a man named Mundy on your ship.
What's it to you?
I was hoping to find him.
Owes you money, does he?
No, he's an old friend.
Him? You must think I'm as drunk as I look.
Aren't you?
Well, okay, so maybe I am. What did you want to know?
Where is he now?
I've no idea. We picked him up in Sword a couple of weeks ago and we brought him here. That's about all I want to know about him.
Did he say what he was coming to Ankh-Morpork for?
I think he said he was meeting someone.
Who?
I can barely remember my own name, let alone something I overheard through a doorway last week.
The Milka looks like a good ship.
You know nothing about ships, do you? She looks like exactly what she is. A run-down tramp schooner with no future.
Any chance I could look around her anyway?
All I want to do is get the cargo loaded and get out of this god's-forsaken city. I don't need people snooping around on board.
On your last voyage, there were 3 passengers, right? Mundy and 2 others.
You tell me. You seem to know more about my ship than I do.
I just want to know what you can remember about them.
I remember that we picked them up in Ecclepon, and I know they had a lot of cargo. Oh, and one was a woman, and one was a man, I think.
You think he was a man?
There was something particularly foreign about him. I'm not sure what.
Where's Ecclepon?
Up near the hub. God's forsaken place. All there is to do there is drink and eat fish sandwiches with no tops on.
Sounds like a long way from the Circle C.
We got lost, all right. It's easy to mix up port and starboard when you've drunk too much port.
Are they still on board?
Nope. We dropped them in Ankh-Morpork. And before you ask, I have no idea what they were doing here. That's not my business.
I was beginning to realize that Captain Jenkins only had 2 questions to ask his passengers. Where are you going? And how much money have you got? Do you know anything about the recent murders in Ankh-Morpork?
I know that there are always murders in Ankh-Morpork. See Ankh-Morpork and die, they say. Often in the same day.
That's not a very helpful answer.
It wasn't a very sensible question.
I'll see you around, Captain. The headquarters of the watch at Pseudopolis Yard. I headed over to Pseudopolis Yard, but Nobby wasn't there yet. I decided to come back later. The wharf. I didn't much like being jammed into a crate and loaded onto the ship, but I could think of worse fates. Like being jammed into a crate full of rats and loaded onto the ship. What's your name then, little fellow? The hold was dark and dank, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The hold was full of crates for the outgoing voyage. They were of little interest to me. The crates were too heavy for me to carry, even if I wanted to. The bilge water was littered with flotsam that looked like the remains of a smashed crate. It was just flotsam. I thought I could see a label amongst the wreckage. I pulled the label out of the wreckage. It had writing on it that I couldn't understand. I'd pulled the label out of the flotsam in the bilge water of the Milka. Unfortunately, I couldn't read it. One of the figures looked like a number, but I couldn't be sure. It looked lived in. The question was, by what? There was nothing of value in the debris. The hold wasn't somewhere I was in a hurry to go back to, but the ladder was there in case curiosity overruled common sense. In my job, it usually did. The River Ankh, the mighty river which gave Ankh-Morpork its characteristic stench. Even before it entered the city, it was already slow and heavy with the silt of the snow plains. By the time it reached the seaward side, even an agnostic could walk across it. The doors led into the passengers' stateroom. They had "intriguing" written all over them, possibly because a bored sailor had engraved it there.